Hey everyone, thank you for tuning into Late Night Hockey with Steven Psihogios. I'm your host, Steven Psihogios, and we've got a busy night of NHL hockey to break down. 15 games from across the National Hockey League to talk about. A busy night, and it started earlier in the day at 1 o'clock. The Bruins and Sabres were the first game on the slate today. But wow, an action-packed night of hockey, and this is where the season starts to get fun, isn't it? We're late in the year. The games are getting more and more important because there's only so many games left for each team in the NHL. The playoff races are really tightening. So this is a fun time of year to be a hockey fan. Usually in May, we're talking about the playoffs, but right now we've still got a regular season to close out and some really interesting playoff races still to be determined. So I'm going to start breaking down all of today's action. We're going to start with the early 1 o'clock matinee between the Buffalo Sabres and the Boston Bruins. And the biggest takeaway from this game for sure has been the play of the Boston Bruins second line. That trio of David Krejci, Taylor Hall, and Craig Smith has just been on fire for the Boston Bruins, and they really showed up in a big way today. And they're taking a lot of pressure off of the perfection line, which has been huge for the Boston Bruins because they got caught at times being a one-line hockey club, but it doesn't look like that anymore. That second line is really stepping up. Craig Smith scores a hat trick today. David Krejci has turned into a wizard when the puck is on his stick. He has been phenomenal when it comes to setting players up. And there's actually a funny quote. Entering that third period, Krejci told Craig Smith, just leave your stick on the ice. I'm going to find it. And sure enough, he was able to find Smith for the hat trick. So we've got a question here from Megan Smith. Thank you for writing. And the Leafs will light up anyone they have faced. 2021 might be the year. Hey, look, I'm going to talk more about the Leafs when we get to that game, but you're not wrong. They have been on fire, really beating up every single opponent they face in that North Division. So I've got more on the Leafs coming up, Megan. Thank you for the comment. Next game I'm going to talk about is the Tampa Bay Detroit game today. And you have Detroit winning 1-0 in a shootout. Second straight game, Thomas Greiss posts a shutout for Detroit. He lost the first one, though. They lost in a shootout to Columbus earlier this week. But now Greiss able to get a victory in the shootout with a shutout over the Tampa Bay Lightning. This was a game where Greiss was the story because he kept the Detroit Red Wings in it. I thought Tampa Bay was the better team. I don't think the Lightning have been playing great lately, but I thought today they were certainly the better team against Detroit. Weren't able to get one past Greiss, though. And then once it got into the shootout, back and forth, the first four shots, 2 and 2 from each team all went in. And one thing that was funny, you got to go watch it. We've got the video up on the Late Night Hockey Twitter account. It was pretty funny. Victor Hedman, I don't know what he was trying to do. I don't know if it was a toe drag gone wrong or what, but his shootout attempt was hilariously bad. It was comically bad. So go give it a look. It was pretty funny, though. I got a good chuckle out of it. But, the Lightning lose in the shootout. Doesn't help that race in the Central Division. That top 3 spots, it's still a musical chairs game. Anybody could really pick up any of those 3 teams, the Lightning, the Panthers, or the Hurricanes, can really slot in anywhere in that top 3. So that's going to be an interesting race. But yeah, not a whole lot to talk about from that Lightning game. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Montreal defeats Ottawa 3-2 tonight. Biggest story by far, bar none. Cole Caufield gets his first NHL goal. And not only does he score his first NHL goal, he does it in overtime to win the game for the Montreal Canadiens. And a great moment. It's just his 4th NHL game. Not to be overlooked was the great play by Jeff Petrie to pick on a tired Brady Tkachuk. Skates around him, finds Caufield streaking to the net. He puts his first goal home. A great moment for Habs fans, and one that is only adding to the excitement that Cole Caufield brings to this team. We've talked about Montreal lots. I have on this show saying that they're missing a high-end goal scorer. And I don't know if Caufield's ready just yet to become that high-end goal scorer, but he's got the prospect profile that certainly suggests more is on the way. So a good moment for Habs fans. They win tonight 3-2. They played all right, I thought. It was a gutsy effort. They were down 2-0 in the third period. They claw their way back into the game and they come away with a win. And maybe the more impressive part for Montreal in this game was how they were able to shut down the top trio for the Ottawa Senators. Josh Norris, Drake Bathurst, and Brady Tkachuk have really been rolling for Ottawa. A big reason why they've had so much success lately. But tonight, those three players only combined for one shot. So kudos to the Montreal Canadiens defense. I still think this is the best defensive team in the North Division. Now, do they have enough offensively to get it done? I don't think so. But kudos to Montreal. They were able to keep some of Ottawa's bigger top stars in check for this game. Next game, I'm going to talk about the Leafs and the Vancouver Canucks. Toronto picks up another win over Vancouver, and I was really impressed by the play of the Leafs' fourth line tonight. I thought Adam Brooks, Joe Thornton, Jason Spezza had a really solid game, and Austin Matthews continued his goal-scoring supremacy, added 2 more goals tonight. He's on pace for 43. It's not out of the picture that he hits it. So he's been on fire. And at this point, the Leafs, Megan, to get to what you were saying, the Leafs will light up anyone they have faced. 2021 might be the year. They have nothing left to gain from playing regular season games. They're done. They're locked into the first seed. I said it on the last video. The Maple Leafs are the top team in the North Division. There's no other team in the North Division that has been able to hold a candle to the Toronto Maple Leafs this season. Not the Edmonton Oilers, not the Winnipeg Jets, not the Montreal Canadiens. This is the Toronto Maple Leafs division. They are the number 1 team by a pretty wide margin. I'd say if you were to go division by division, the Leafs are for sure the biggest division leader as far as not just points, but talent and skill. They are by far the best division leader right now. And part of that has to do with the way the Leafs have played, but also part of that has to do with the division. Nobody should be touting how strong this North Division is. I know Edmonton's come on lately, but I don't know if they still have the defense to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Winnipeg Jets, they're kind of in a free fall right now. They've been losing games all over the place. Look at last night. They're up 3-1 on Montreal. They still find a way to lose that game 5-3, and they were struggling long before Nikolai Ehlers got hurt. So this isn't a Nikolai Ehlers getting hurt, and now the Winnipeg Jets aren't good all of a sudden. This is Connor Hellebuyck's not having a Vezina-type year, which he can't make up for all the mistakes the defense typically makes, because that is not a good defense either. This is one of the worst divisions for defensive hockey by far. The Leafs, I'd say they're about a league average defense. Montreal, we're talking top 10, not top 5. They're top 10. They're in the back half of that top 10, closer to 10 than they are to 5, certainly. The Jets are, I'd say, bottom 10 from what I've seen. And the Oilers, they've played a little bit better. Mike Smith has played very well for that team. He has made up for a lot of mistakes. He had a .922 save percentage coming into tonight's game. So with the Leafs, not to take anything away from them, but they are clearly the class of this division. There's no one that can challenge this Toronto Maple Leafs team. And they win again tonight convincingly against the Vancouver Canucks. Next game, Pittsburgh, Washington. I thought Pittsburgh played great tonight, really controlled the game from start to finish, and they might just be the hottest team in the NHL right now. They've won 6 of their last 7, and they're getting healthy now. Evgeny Malkin's getting back. He played tonight, or he's getting close to playing. They've got Kasperi Kapanen back in the lineup. This Pittsburgh team all of a sudden is getting healthy. They're talented. They're getting good goaltending out of Tristan Jarry. They can make a run. I know McDavid has dominated a lot of the Hart Trophy talks, and he should win it. There should be no questions. If you take McDavid off that Oilers team, we might not be talking about a playoff team. But right there, I think, number 2, you have to put Sidney Crosby, because he kept this team afloat without Evgeny Malkin in the lineup. That line, he, Rust, and Gensel are an excellent line. Brian Rust scores 2 goals tonight, has a big performance, and he's up to 22 goals this year. You might not know that, but Brian Rust is up to 22 goals this year. So he's having a season. Jake Gensel having a season as well, and Crosby doing Crosby things. He has helped keep this Pittsburgh Penguins team afloat and deserves credit for that, because Pittsburgh right now, like I said, I think they're the hottest team in the NHL. They overtake the Capitals for first place in the division tonight. And if you're Washington looking at this from the other side, you got to be nervous about goaltending. Vitek Vanacek, yeah, he had the shutout the other night, but he still isn't seizing control of the net. Ilya Samsonov hasn't done anything to make you feel confident about him as the number one. Who's your goalie entering the playoffs? And I know Capital fans are saying, yeah, we had those same questions the year they won the Cup. But, you know, you don't have a veteran in Braden Holtby waiting in the wings here. It's 2 young goaltenders who haven't figured it out yet. So they're going to have to figure that out soon, because that is a big problem. I know they're missing Ovechkin. I know they're missing John Carlson. 2 big losses. But you get shut out by the Penguins, and goaltending is still floundering. So we'll see what happens with the Washington Capitals. Next game, not going to take too much time talking about this one. It was the Devils and Flyers. The Devils win 4-1. Igor Sharangovich is playing better. He's got 4 goals and 5 points in his last 3 games played. Just an awful, awful season for the Philadelphia Flyers. What else can you say? They have been absolutely brutal this year. Carter Hart disappointed. The offense was okay. The defense is largely disappointed. I expected more from guys like Travis Sanheim and Philippe Myers, and they just haven't taken a step forward this year. And as a result, the Flyers don't look great. Provorov, I'd say, looks like a legit number one, but I don't know. I think they need some help depth-wise there in Philadelphia. Losing Goligoski, or not Goligoski, but Matt Niskanen seems to be a bigger loss than a lot of people may have thought, but I don't think it's all on Matt Niskanen leaving. I think that's just a defense that was loaded with potential that hasn't lived up to it. Next game, Islanders and Rangers. Islanders close out the Rangers. They shut them out 3-0 tonight, and they clinch a playoff spot. They are the 3rd team in the East Division to clinch a playoff spot. That means the Rangers, now after that loss, the only team that they can catch for a playoff spot are the Boston Bruins. And with the way the Bruins have been playing, they've won 9 of their last 11. I don't think the Rangers are going to be catching the Boston Bruins right now. I believe the Bruins have a 6-point lead with a few games in hand as well. So the math isn't working out very well for the New York Rangers. And tonight, I thought Zibanejad gave it his all. He had 7 shots on goal, was a noticeable force. I thought Artemi Panarin was a little quiet. He finished the game with no shots on goal. But regardless, Varlamov was able to steal the game tonight as well for the Islanders. Didn't give up anything on 28 shots. And yeah, it's not working out for the Rangers. I think if you put the Rangers in a few other divisions, I think that's a playoff team. I really do. I think you can make a case for them in the Central. I think you can certainly make a case for them in the North Division and potentially in the West too, because the Blues haven't been the greatest of teams this year. So I think the Rangers are a team that if they were in a different division, they're a playoff team. But unfortunately, I say the East, as far as a top 4 goes, the most sound division. You got 4 teams that all I think have a chance to win the Stanley Cup, and probably the only division where you can say that, where all 4 teams have a legitimate shot to win the Stanley Cup. So tough loss for the Rangers tonight. The math is starting to look worse and worse for them. Next game, moving to the Central Division, Carolina defeats Columbus 2-1 in overtime. And if you're the Hurricanes and if you're a Hurricanes fan, this is all you need to know. Alex Nedeljkovic is your goaltender come playoff time. I've been saying this on the show all season long. I've been ringing the bell. I've been tooting the horn. I've been shouting from the mountains. Alex Nedeljkovic is the number 1 goaltender, even when Peter Mrazek comes back. And he's done nothing to lose that confidence of Rod Brind'Amour and of his teammates. And not only because of how he played tonight does he get a big shutout as far as stopping the puck, But how about that dish to Dougie Hamilton on the game-winning goal in overtime? That was a thing of beauty. That was an excellent effort from the goaltender. He does it all. He does it all. I joked, I said I might end up turning the Twitter account for the show into an Alex Nedeljkovic fan account because we've been just tooting his horn, piping him up, pumping his tires all season long. So, Alex Nedeljkovic, you get the big shout out. And the Hurricanes, as a fan, you got to be happy. Teuvo Teravainen is back in the lineup. He has been excellent since coming back. He's got 3 points in 3 games, scored another goal tonight. It's just nice to have that guy back because when he's healthy, he's an elite point producer. I believe in his last 166 games in the NHL, he's got 151 points. So that is almost a point per game pace. So to get him back and to see him healthy, which is the important thing because he came back earlier this year, only played a game and missed even more time dealing with a concussion. It is nice to have Turbo back in the lineup for the Carolina Hurricanes. Not going to talk much about the Columbus Blue Jackets. Their season's done. I'm expecting some big changes from that team this offseason. The plan that was in place is no longer working. They've lost too many key players over the years. Their time has come to an end with this group. So we'll see what happens. But I'm expecting Jarmo Kekalainen to be a busy guy this offseason. Next game, Colorado beats San Jose 4-3. Alex Barbinov, I will say this. Barbinov has been playing better for the San Jose Sharks. He's been playing well. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists in his last 4 games played. But all I can think about now when I watch an Avalanche game is when Philip Grubauer is not playing, I say, man, this team really misses Philip Grubauer. He got the night off tonight after getting a shutout in his return. Devin Dubnyk was a little shaky. He gave up 3 goals tonight. So it wasn't a great effort, but it's all I can think about when I'm watching the Avalanche. When Philip Grubauer is not playing, I just think, man, this team needs him. And, last night or in their last game, he puts up a shutout. Today, you have Devin Dubnyk getting the start, a little bit shakier. So as long as Grubauer is healthy, that Avalanche team is poised to make a deep run in the playoffs. That series, I believe it's eventual. I believe it will happen between Vegas and Colorado will be epic. I think that'll be the best series you'll see all playoff long. So looking forward to that. But Colorado beats the San Jose Sharks 4-3. Next game, Florida, Chicago. This was an interesting game. It really picked up in the third period. Florida entered with a 3-2 lead. They score a couple quick, make it 5-2 in that third period. But then all of a sudden, Chicago puts on a big push late. They make it 5-4, but they couldn't get any closer than that. Player that deserves a massive shout-out, though, for the way he's playing is Anthony Duclair from the Florida Panthers. He has been so good. He really started to heat up after the team acquired Sam Bennett, but now they've switched up their lines. It used to be Bennett, Huberdeau, and Duclair on the line. Now they've got Bennett, Huberdeau with Owen Tippett, who is also playing better lately, but they've also now moved Duclair to play with Barkov, and he just keeps producing. He's got 17 points in his last 13 games played, and the goal he scored tonight, his second goal in that third period, was a thing of beauty. The move he put on Kevin Lankinen, he made him look silly. So big shout out to Anthony Duclair. He's playing well. And like I said earlier, Owen Tippett, he's got 2 goals and an assist in his last 3 games played. This is a high draft pick, a guy who was known for goal scoring in the OHL with the Mississauga Steelheads. He's got a great shot. If he can get going, because now he's playing with Jonathan Huberdeau. That is an excellent player to put with Owen Tippett. That Huberdeau, Bennett, Tippett line, I think, has played really well for Florida. So now that you got that trio rolling for the Panthers and Owen Tippett, he's elevated his game over these last few games. I'm telling you, this Florida team is ready for whoever come playoff time. I know everyone's saying, all right, Tampa Bay right now, they're just kind of coasting a little bit. They're just kind of, their foot's off the gas a bit. But once they get Kucherov and Stamkos back, they'll be fine. They better be. That Lightning team better be fine when those guys get back because Florida's not a pushover. They're going to give Tampa Bay a series and a half. So for everyone that's saying the Lightning right now, they're not playing their best hockey. Well, they're missing all these guys, this, that. All right, let's see it. Florida right now is rolling. And I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. So we'll see what happens. That is going to be a fun first round series if it happens. Obviously, either Florida or Tampa Bay could still pass Carolina and actually get first in that division. But it's looking more and more likely with every day that passes. The Carolina Hurricanes aren't really slowing down at all. And they seem poised to claim that number one spot, which would lead to a fun Florida Tampa Bay series. A little interstate rivalry. Who would have loved that? Next game, Nashville, Dallas. This was huge as far as playoff implications go. In the Central Division, you had Nashville holding on to the fourth spot, and you had Dallas clinging on to number 5, trying to get to number 4. And everyone was talking earlier this year, Dallas, they weren't playing well, but, they had all those games in hand. They had that large COVID pause early in the year. So they had all these games in hand built up. But look what happened. Look what's happened now. The Nashville Predators are the sole owners of that fourth spot in the Central Division. Not only are they the sole owners of that fourth spot, right now, even with the games in hand, they would still claim that spot because Dallas has failed to get the job done in overtime and shootout. They have 12 overtime shootout losses, which is the most in the NHL, and they claimed that top spot with a 1-0 overtime loss tonight to the Nashville Predators. And I don't know, Dallas, if you win half of those games, you're sitting pretty in the fourth spot. But this Predators team has just been on a roll. And tonight, what propelled them to victory is the same thing that's been propelling them for almost half the season now. And that's the way UC Saros has played between the pipes. He stopped all 28 shots he faced. And Dallas, where's this urgency? Where's this push? I was waiting for a big push from the Dallas Stars in the third period and overtime. Nothing. They got outshot 14-5 in the third period and overtime combined. Didn't even get a shot in the overtime period. So I don't know, Dallas. It's out of your control now whether you get that fourth spot or not. You don't play Nashville again this year, so you're going to need some help in getting into the playoffs. And I think this might just be a case of the injuries have caught up to Dallas. I think less so the Ben Bishop one because the goaltending's been a little bit better lately. Yet Khudobin holds the Nashville Predators to no goals through 3 periods tonight. And Jake Ottinger has been good when he's played. But I think they miss having Tyler Seguin. He really completes that top 6. And I know they've had other guys step up this year. Pavelski, Guryanov has played better lately. Rope Hintz, Alexander Radulov. But I still think they miss Tyler Seguin a lot. And the unfortunate thing is it doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon. So Dallas, it's out of your control now. You're going to need a little bit of help if you want to make the playoffs in the Central Division. But kudos to the Nashville Predators. Kudos to UC Saros, whose name should definitely be in the mix for the Vezina Trophy. I think he's the guy that you give it to. I don't think there's been a goalie who single-handedly has turned a team season around like this anywhere around the league. And I understand Andrei Vasilevsky has been good yet again, but UC Saros has just been phenomenal. And he got it done again tonight. Next game, going to talk about Minnesota, St. Louis, and Minnesota, a big third period comeback to get this game into overtime where they would win. And shout out to Jonas Brodin, who had another nice game. He's not known for his offensive touch, but he finished the game tonight with a goal and an assist. He looked really good. And he's one of those defensemen that doesn't get a lot of credit. I think that Minnesota blue line in general gets overlooked. But if you watch this show, I've been saying it all year. I think the Wild have the best defense 1 through 6 in the NHL right now. They've just been really solid. And just a big shout out to the Minnesota Wild. They win this one 4-3 in overtime. Jonas Brodin. A tough one for the St. Louis Blues to lose tonight because they're still not locked into that number 4 spot in the West Division. The Coyotes are still on their tails. So you'd like to have those 2 points. They still got 1. Luckily for them, they got a little bit of luck later, and we'll talk about that game shortly, the one between the Golden Knights and the Coyotes. Next game, I'm going to talk about Anaheim, LA. Not going to spend too much time talking about this one either, just because not a whole lot of playoff implications from this one. But nice to see Trevor Zegras score. He got his second goal since joining the National Hockey League, and he also got an assist in this game. Big shout out. I said I would do this shout out on the Twitter account. Nick Delorier. Nice goal tonight, buddy. This guy's known for punching people in the face. He comes out and scores a nice goal, gets down on one knee just to whip one right by Cal Peterson tonight. And just a good effort from the Anaheim Ducks, who I thought played well. I thought looked good tonight. And they won 6-2. It was pretty one-sided. So, but I just want to shout that out. Also, Ryan Miller, they did a nice little thing for him after the game. This was his last home game. So good to see him get a win in his last home start. Next game, Edmonton, Calgary, and the Calgary Flames. You can officially close the book on their 2020-21 season. They're done. They are not making the playoffs. They lost 4-1 tonight. Wasn't for lack of trying. I thought Calgary had some good pushback after falling behind early. They went down 2-0 at the start of this game, but they kind of pushed their way back into it. Johnny Gaudreau scored, made it 2-1, kind of made it interesting, but Oilers scored 2 empty net goals, walk away with a 4-1 win. So I don't know, though. Calgary, you're done. I think some big changes are coming there this offseason as well. You gave it a go. You tried your best with this core, but it's obvious the Gaudreau, Monahan, Tkachuk, Lindholm core just isn't good enough offensively. I think you see that broken up this year, whether it's a Gaudreau trade or whether it's a Tkachuk trade. I think one of those big players on Calgary is going to get traded. They gave it a go with this core. It just wasn't good enough. But McDavid continues to impress. He picks up 3 points tonight, a goal and a couple of assists. He is now sitting at 87 points with 7 games left. I know it's crazy, but he might hit the 100-point mark in a 56-game season. That is just absurd to think about. When you think about, I think 5-6 years ago, Jamie Benn won the Hart Trophy, and he scored 87 points. And that was an 82-game season. So now we have Connor McDavid pushing for 100 in a 56-game season. That's incredible. Just incredible. Not to be overshadowed tonight either. Leon Draisaitl picked up 4 assists. And one guy who I think, we talk about McDavid and the points and this and that, but honestly, if this guy wasn't playing the way he was, the Edmonton Oilers are not in the situation they are in right now. That is Mike Smith. He had a .922 save percentage coming into tonight. That number only improved. He's been excellent. He stopped 29 of 30 tonight. He makes big saves on a pretty frequent basis. I'm not the biggest Mike Smith fan. I think he's a little overrated because of the way he comes out and plays the puck. I'm not a big fan. I don't like goalies that come out and play the puck too much. It's cost him a couple of times, but I got to give Mike Smith his due. If there's anything we do on this show, it's we give people their credit. And Mike Smith earns every ounce of credit that he gets, and maybe even more than what he's getting, because he has been really good this year. And as I said, as good as McDavid's been, as good as Draisaitl's been, if Mike Smith hasn't played or doesn't play the way he's played this season, I don't think the Edmonton Oilers are a playoff team. So big shout out to Mike Smith as well, because he has been rock solid for the Edmonton Oilers. Final game of the night. And this game, you know what? It was a nice night of hockey, and I thought, what an awful way to end this night of hockey. I thought, great day. 1 o'clock game was pretty good. The 3 o'clock game, a bit of a snooze fest, but I thought the rest of the games tonight were excellent. Vegas Golden Knights, Arizona Coyotes. Arizona fighting for their playoff life. The math doesn't look good for them in the West Division. They're trying to catch the St. Louis Blues. Entering the third period, they're down against the division-leading Golden Knights 2-0. They claw their way back in. They get a couple of goals, one from Christian Fischer, one from Christian Dvorak. They tie the game up at 2. They push it to overtime, and they're looking good. They're looking good in the overtime period too. But they get called for a too many men on the ice penalty that I thought was bogus. I thought this call was awful, just horrendous. It was a pretty close play. The guy who's getting off, I believe it was Goligoski getting off the ice, isn't anywhere near the play. He is clearly taking himself off the ice when Jacob Chikrin hops over the board. And for them to call it in overtime, at any time of the game, I thought this would have been a bad call. But to call it in overtime is just a mistake and just awful, awful officiating. Sure enough, it cost them. Jonathan Marchessault, who's playing very well for the Vegas Golden Knights right now, scores the game-winning goal. I believe this is his third straight game, or maybe even fourth straight game with a goal. He has been really good for Vegas. But that call completely changed the game and really hampers the Coyotes' chances of making the playoffs. Like I said, it wasn't looking great already. But to call that, especially at that time of the game, I think that was an awful call. And head coach Rick Tocchet was all over the officials for it. And rightfully so. It cost them the game. It cost them a valuable point in a playoff race that they need every single point they can get. So if I'm a Coyotes fan, I'm a little upset after tonight. I've got a little bit of a reason to be mad at the way that one played out. Kudos to the Coyotes, though. They still fought back to get a point, but I'm not a fan of how that one ended. I don't like how that one ended. You can go check out the call for yourself. I'm sure it's on Twitter or YouTube or somewhere. You can go watch it. Not a good call. And I'm sure you'll hear Rick Tocchet talking about it. I'm sure he's going to give his opinion on it because it was bad. It was really bad. But that's going to do it for this episode of Late Night Hockey. Whew. 15 games to talk about. We were able to talk about them in just a little over 30 minutes, so about 2 minutes per game. A couple of them we had to go really in depth on, and a couple of them, you had the New Jersey Philly game, and that game really had no implications whatsoever. Same with Anaheim, LA Kings. But I want to touch on this before we wrap up. The poll question I put out tonight, I asked, which division leader is the best team right now in the NHL? The 4 division leaders, when I put the poll out, were the Washington Capitals, Las Vegas Golden Knights, Carolina Hurricanes, Toronto Maple Leafs. Now we know Pittsburgh has passed Washington for first. Probably explains why they did poorly in the poll, because them and the Maple Leafs tied for last place in the poll. I don't argue with that, though. I don't argue with that. I think Washington deserves a little bit more love, but I don't argue that the Leafs are last just because the competition that they've played. It's no fault of their own, but it's okay to question the Maple Leafs a little bit just based on that Canadian division, because there's no doubting that is the weakest division in all of the NHL right now. And anyone who says otherwise, I'd like to hear your reasoning as to why it's stronger than another division, and pick a division, please. I'd love to hear it. But as someone who's watched a lot of hockey from every single division, I've got a hard time thinking that one is not the worst. So I think it's okay to question the Maple Leafs a little bit. I wouldn't sleep on them, but I think it's okay to question them a little bit. But I agree with the fact that the Golden Knights are one of the best. I think Carolina is the best. If I'm ranking these teams, I think Carolina's got the most offensively. I think they're very sound defensively. And I think they got their goaltender in Alex Nedeljkovic. I think that was the biggest question mark with this team. You look at the playoffs last year, flip-flopping, James Reimer, Peter Mrazek, James Reimer. Just no consistency in net. I think they finally got their guy in Nedeljkovic, and there's no holes in that team whatsoever. The Golden Knights, same thing, no holes, but I like the high-end talent as far as the top 6 goes of the Carolina Hurricanes a little bit more than I like the top 6 of the Vegas Golden Knights, and that's where I'm making my decision. That's where it lies. So that was the poll question, and if you want to keep up to date to everything related to the show, including participating in the poll question, follow us at LNH Show on Twitter. That's at LNH SHOW. And if you like what you saw on the video tonight, don't be afraid to hit the subscribe button. Give us a like, give us the thumbs up, comment. Appreciate your comment tonight, Megan Smith. Whatever you do, to show your appreciation for the show, it is much appreciated by myself. So thank you again for tuning in to this episode of Late Night Hockey. If you have any questions, you want to reach out, just hit the Twitter account up, leave a comment. More than happy to respond to it. And once again, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Late Night Hockey. A busy day in the NHL, but it's getting fun now. The playoff races are intensifying. This is the best time of year to be a hockey fan.